Tom Payson, the talk of the town. Welcome back again for another segment of Making Your Vote Count here at the Caddo Parish Registrar of Voters Office with the man himself, Ernie Robertson. And Ernie, this is 2010. Big election year. It's off-year elections, but yet still a major election year.
Major election year, not only for U.S. Senate and for Congress on the national level, but also we have Mayor of Shreveport, City Council of Shreveport, all 12 seats on the Caddo Parish School Board, and some small-town elections. And
not only that, City Council, as you were talking about, there will be 5 new council members.
At least 5 are going to be challenged for sure, and there may be more. We don't know, but there'll be 5 new ones for sure.
And again, as we're talking, the reason why we're here today is for you, the voter, and for you who may want to register to vote. This segment of Ernie's is called Making Your Vote Count. Now, we know about the traditional balloting that you do where you fill out all the forms. We'll get to that in a minute. But, Ernie, this year, the thing that's so important is the Secretary of State, Jay Darden, for Louisiana, has now inaugurated online voter registration on the web.
Right. We are one of the first states in the union to have this, and we've got online voter registration. It's been up and running. It is working great, Tom. It's going to be a great value for the people throughout Louisiana, especially in Caddo, because a lot of people work shift work. They don't always have the time they want to register to vote, and this is one way they can register to vote 24/7.
It's hard to believe that it's taken maybe this long, but yet I guess the security protocols are the things that everybody was concerned about.
It really was. It was the security of registering to vote and the information that you give being secure, and also getting it to the registrar so that we can process it very quickly. And this has really sped up processing. So we want to encourage people, if at all possible, register online. You can also make party changes online. You can change your address online. A lot of different things you can do now through caddovoter.org, or you can go to the Secretary of State's website, sos.louisianaspelledout.gov.
So just remember the one that's most important for you, make it more simple, and that would be caddovoter.org, www.caddovoter.org. Ernie, you've had that for a couple of years now, and has it made the people more aware and made them a little bit more user-friendly?
It really has, and of course this year we're moving to more and more user-friendly type applications. We're going to be putting kind of the top 10 questions that we're normally asked now that we've had a little experience with the website, and so we'll be adding more things for folks, and they'll be able to click and find the answers they want. Again, 24/7, the registrar's office is going to be available to people.
Well, why don't we do this, Ernie? Why don't we go into your office and sit down at the keyboard and you log in and scroll it up, and so you can actually show people how to do it, okay?
Sounds great to me.
All right, let's take a walk. All right. Okay, so here it is, the heart and soul of the Caddo Registrar of Voters Office. For you soon-to-be voters and our voters who are already registered, this is the online site that we've been talking about for the longest with Ernie Robertson. It's called caddovoter.org, caddovoter.org, Ernie. This has got to be the greatest thing that ever happened to your office.
It really is, because we're already a 24/7 office now, because people expect us really to be able to do a lot of things through online services. And the great thing is the Louisiana Secretary of State with the legislature has come up with an online voter registration form for folks now. And they can go on here and register to vote online any time of the day, 7 days a week.
So if they're shift workers and they're getting off at 2 in the morning and they say, oh, I better go ahead and register or change my address or something.
Right. They can do whatever they need to do as far as the registration goes, party changes, address changes. We can do it through the computer now. It's the best thing. It's kind of like the old saying, it's the best thing since sliced bread. Well, this is really for us. We're really excited about this. And it's something the Secretary of State has just got going.
And so, literally, this is breaking news from the Caddo Registrar of Voters Office. Now, we're looking at the website. Alan Marsalis and all the good folks over there at Bandwise just put together a great site for you, Ernie.
It really is, and it's really easy to use, and that was our goal, was make it easy to use with a lot of click-throughs. And this one is just really easy. You just scroll down, and over here on this side, of course, you can always check where do you vote, what's on my ballot. But you come down to the new online voter registration click-through. You click it here, and it's going to take you directly to the Secretary of State's website. And that way we've got it completely secure because it's going through their website. And you scroll down, Tom, and you click here. It says click here to continue. You click there, and you're into the online voter registration site portion of this, and you just start clicking down. You read through all that. Are you a citizen of the United States? You'd be yes. Will you be 18 years of age on or before Election Day? Yes. And then currently under an order of imprisonment for conviction of felony. These are all the standard questions that you're going to find on a voter registration form. And it's really so easy, Tom, to use. It's just a click through. You keep clicking, you go to the next page, you type in your name, your last name, give us the date of birth, and of course your gender, and then we get to the part that I'm really happy about because of the security involved in giving the driver's license number and your social security number, or the portion of it that's asked for. And so it's very important that we get that because that's part of the Help America Vote Act.
And again, Ernie Robertson here, and the Caddo Registrar of Voters he is, and talking about the online registration. And as far as Louisiana goes, we're kind of pioneering stuff here, are we not?
We really are, because in 2008 there were only 2 states that had online registration, and then a few more have picked up. I think we're in the first 5 or 6 in America to have online voter registration, and the way it was implemented is just excellent. I think people that are going to be using it are going to find it very friendly, very easy to use. They will need their driver's license or their special ID code because they're going to be asked for a particular number, an audit code number that's on that driver's license. That's just another level of security.
And so for those of you that might be all concerned and wrapped up, worried about giving out private information that can be compromised, these are the safeguards, correct?
Right. These are the safeguards. We have the Help America Vote Act. We call it HAVA. Safeguards in there that were put into place after 2002. And those include not only your driver's license number, but also either your social security number or a portion of it. And then that's going to be matched against those computers. And we've been doing that for a couple of years. That's helped. But then we also have this audit code that comes off your driver's license. It just is another level, and I really have got to commend the Secretary of State and the legislature for coming up with an excellent plan on online voter registration in Louisiana.
And again, we're talking about Louisiana Secretary of State Jay Dardenne, who is the man that finally said, okay, I am passing my seal of approval on this, giving you something, and his official website is?
His website is sos.louisianaspelledout.gov. That goes directly to where we are now, and you can register to vote online through that website, or you can do the click-through through caddovoter.org. And we don't collect any information, so people understand. When you click through on caddovoter.org, it's strictly a click-through. Goes direct to the secure site through the Secretary of State's website.
Well, that makes sense, and what a great deal. If you'll go back, if you would, to your main site, Ernie, as we're looking at this, and so everybody kind of gets an opportunity to see all this. On the left-hand side under the online voter registration, you will see other, if you go down, other icons there. It says photos, videos, forms, questions. There'll be Caddo voter staff, and you'll be able to see that. Military, another big one, because this year they'll be able to online military, right?
We're looking, the federal law has been passed. Louisiana's going to have the companion law. They'll be able to vote through email in November. If everything works out correctly, it all gets implemented on time. That'll be for the military and the overseas voters. And that's really going to help a lot for those folks because it's almost impossible to get things mailed to them or faxed to them, and they had that option. So this is going to be a better option for us.
Well, there you have it. This is the online voter registration. It's also the caddovoter.org website that you see. If you'll scroll to your right, you'll be able to see, Ernie, and you go down a little bit. There you are. here is when we put the various updates up there. Caddo election update fall 2010, and this was for the Louisiana Voter Education Registration Week that we did back in May. So
a lot of good comments on that. I'm really surprised. Some people have actually told me, as I'm just kind of in the community, that they've actually seen this and they've enjoyed it and they learned some things out of it.
Well, you see, and that's what it's all about, and there will be even more that they'll be able to see. In fact, this one that we're talking about right now will be posted up there, and they'll be able to go to that one as well. Ernie, what does this mean to you? Is this going to make your job easier, quicker?
It's going to make it a lot easier for us because we actually receive this information on online voter registration electronically, and it is secure. It's given to us, and we're able to do this a lot more quickly than the old paper way of doing things. So we really are encouraging people use this. This is going to help people, especially registering to vote at the last minute. And that's what it's been shown is that last week when everything's in a crunch and you want to get registered to vote, then you can use the online site to register to vote, and it really does help.
Now, that was an education unto itself, Ernie. That's a big monitor in there.
Well, it has to be so I can see it. But it really is a great application for folks that might want to use it in Caddo Parish. To go ahead and use caddlevoter.org, click through, register to vote, change your address, change your party. And the great thing, Tom, is you can do it anytime. You don't have to wait till we're open.
Okay, that's issue number one. Is your online registration? Yes, if you've got a computer, you can do it. I think somebody else might ask the question, could you use a public computer, like a library computer?
Sure, you can use a public computer if you want to. Just make sure after you've clicked through that you go back and get everything off the screen, more or less. And you could do that if you wanted to.
Alrighty, so there you have it. It doesn't have to be your personal computer. That might have been a question that somebody would ask.
Yeah, it would be.
Alrighty, now, and again, Ernie Robertson, the Caddo Parish Registrar of Voters, a 20-year veteran here, and helping make this office run a lot smoother through online registration. But Ernie, a lot of folks still like the old paper registration forms, the old mail-in forms, and that's a very big issue that people need to be aware of, right?
Right, and you can go ahead and do that. You can pick them up at any library and just go ahead and fill it out and send it to us. You can actually use the online screen and not complete it, and it will prompt you to print off the form, and so therefore you could be at your house and print off the form, fill out what is missing, and if you want to mail it to us, but that's going to take a couple of extra days. So I always tell people, go ahead and register to vote online. But, Tom, a lot of people now, of course, are having to use absentee by mail voting because our population is more mobile, and I think we need to talk about that.
Okay, let's get into that. So we're talking about absentee voting, and this is not where it's just the handicapped or anything like that.
Right.
It's just purely absentee, right?
Right, and you use the same form to request that an absentee ballot be mailed to you. Of course, people that are 65 and above can request a form. People who are handicapped can request a form. We have a special program for them. But also you have students. You have people who are going to be out of town during early voting or going to be out of town on Election Day too, and they can't make it for early voting. They're not going to be here for Election Day. This is another way that they can actually request, and you just need one of these forms, which is going to be available, of course, on our website. You can download it, or you can call us and we can mail one to you. You'll be able to find it also in kind of the PDF format through the Secretary of State's website. You fill it out. You can fax it to us at our office, or you can mail it, or you can actually drop it by if you happen to be here in time, and go ahead and drop it by. And we've got to get this form first. In other words, you can't just call us is what I'm saying. You have to do all the paperwork because in Louisiana, everything has to be in writing.
Physically, in other words, you have to fill out each of these lines and check all those questions that are applicable.
That's correct, because we're going to need to know the address you want to send to. We need your signature. We're going to need what election you're going to be out of town for. We're going to need all the basic information you get from any voter. And once you get this done and it comes into our office, then what we're going to do, Tom, once we've checked through that and looked up your registration, then our next step is we're going to prepare an absentee by mail ballot to be mailed to you, and that's going to include not only the envelope that you get it in, but it's also going to have a set of instructions. And the next thing, whenever they open it up, they're going to get a copy of the instructions on voting by mail, And this will kind of give them the tutorial on what they need to do to get their ballot properly counted. So they ought to read this. And then the next thing they're going to get, which I don't have here because we don't have any, is we're going to have a set of ballots for them. They might be getting a ballot for Senate or Congress or mayor or whatever it is, and they're going to be in there. And so they'll need to go through first, and they need to go ahead and vote what they want to vote for. Okay? Yeah. And then this is the most important one right here, because this is the affidavit envelope. And you put your ballots in here, okay?
Show us again how you do that.
You put your ballots in here. You put them down in this little slot right here. And once you've marked your ballots, you put them in there, and then you're going to fold it over like this, and you're going to take this little strip off here. This is a sticky, okay? And then when you fold it over, it seals automatically. You don't have to lick it or anything. It's ready to go. Now, do not detach this front part, because it's got to come back to us with your name and your address, and that you're a voter by mail. It's got to have your signature and the 2 witnesses and the notary. But the deal is, this is going to be counted by the Board of Election Supervisors on election afternoon and night.
And so this is the one that has to be signed down here in order for it to count.
That's right. It's got to be signed. You got to have 2 witnesses or a notary, or if you're handicapped, then just 1 witness is all you need. And the board will go through. They'll check the list to make sure that you're who you say you are. They'll check your signature. And then this part, Tom, this part here is detached and remains as a record before your ballot is open. It's put face down, then your ballot is open. It's put over to the side face down, so nobody knows how you voted.
Okay, now do they put this into something?
Yeah, they take this and then they're going to put it back in the return envelope, which has my name and address on it, and you put it in here just like this, and you come back here and you seal it, and then you put your stamp on it.
Must have a stamp.
You got to have a stamp and mail it back to us. Then the next suggestion I have to people, get it filled out, who you want to vote for, and then start thinking, well, how long did it take that ballot to get to me? And if it took a week or 10 days, then you might want to consider, well, I may not get this back in time. Maybe I need to send it by commercial carrier, like a FedEx or somebody like that could get it back to the registrar's office in time, because it's the voter's responsibility. And this is one of those times they really got to step up and take the initiative to make sure it gets back to us in time, because that's the other heartbreak of this whole deal. During the presidential election, we had a lot of ballots coming in after Election Day, and in Louisiana, they're not counted. They're not counted because you have to have the ballot back to us by the close of polls if you're military, and for everybody else, if you're a civilian, it has to be back the day before the election.
So technically, that ballot has to be here before the day of election?
That's right. The ballot has to be here before the day before the election. So in other words, if we're voting on Saturday, that ballot's got to be here on Friday if you're a civilian. However, military and overseas citizens can have theirs delivered up until the close of polls at 8 o'clock.
That makes it even more important for you to pay attention. And all of these questions will be answered soon in a top 10 list that we will do for you to give you a quick tutorial about the top 10 questions that everybody is asking. But I think the bottom line is, get your ballot in early. For Pete's sake, don't try and fill it out and say, oh, I'm going to mail it Thursday and presume you get it Friday.
Right. It doesn't work that way. The mail service is good in most cases. However, it is slow. So I always tell people, if you're out of town, you need to allot, just like on mailing your bills, you need 7 to 10 days for that bill to get to Ohio or Atlanta or wherever you're mailing it. Same way to get it back to us. A lot of a time. Now, the other problem, Tom, is a lot of times we receive the ballots, the printed ballots in just a few days before we start early voting, and we may only receive them 17 days before the election. Well, we've got to go through and get our job done to get all those mailed out. So sometimes, yes, we are kind of late in getting the ballots out. Not late, but I mean, for voters, they think it's late, but we don't get them but a couple of days before early voting starts. So we've got the people here to try to get them out, but the military is going out first, I can assure you that, and the overseas, because that's required. And then we're going to start sending out all the civilian ballots. So it's very important. Get your request in early. Then once you get your ballot, vote it that day, If you don't have time to mail it, then get it commercially delivered to us.
What is our first deadline day, if you will?
It's 60 days before the election that you can send in a request. You can't send it in before then. So that's the first deadline you have to meet. And we'll get those, and we'll be processing those as far as our end goes, waiting for the ballots to be prepared. But those ballots aren't printed. They're all printed down in through the state in Baton Rouge. So like I say, we won't receive those ballots until maybe 3 or 4 days before early voting starts. So a lot of times, and Caddo has usually the highest number of by-mail voters because we have so many military voters. And so we will be processing as quick as we can. And people are wondering, well, where are my ballots? I requested it 45 days ago. Well, I don't get the ballots till about 17 days before the election.
So here's the bottom line, as you heard Ernie say, once you get your ballot, don't delay. Just go ahead, fill it out, turn right back around and shoot it back to him, because that'll be that week to 10 days in order to make your vote count. And in fact, that is what this segment's called, making your vote count, online registration, and also ballots by mail. And Ernie, it's been an education today. For a lot of folks, they don't realize that that really is the one thing that is completely labor intensive, kind of like making hamburgers. Everybody's hamburgers are a little bit different sometimes, and some people get some ballots and some people don't get other ballots, and you may be in the city or out of the city, or maybe you're this party or that party, so it's very involved. Caddo does more ballots by mail usually than anybody else in the state, and we pride ourselves. In fact, in the presidential election, Tom, for the first time since I've been here, every ballot that we had a request for when we ended early voting 1 week before the election, we actually got out by that night. And we, of course, we're getting them every day, 100 to 150 requests a day. But every ballot had been processed. Every ballot was mailed, because I took them to mail them that night. He is the man, a 20-year veteran, the Caddo Registrar of Voters, Ernie Robertson. Tom Pace with you from the Talk of the Town, making your vote count. And remember to be watching for another video coming up soon, the top 10 questions asked and the answers.
That's right. We'll have it ready for you.
Have a good day, and remember, make your vote count. I'm Tom Pace. Thank you very much. if you will?
It's 60 days before the election that you can send in a request. You can't send it in before then. So that's the first deadline you have to meet. And we'll get those, and we'll be processing those as far as our end goes, waiting for the ballots to be prepared. But those ballots aren't printed. They're all printed down through the state in Baton Rouge. So like I say, we won't receive those ballots until maybe 3 or 4 days before early voting starts. So a lot of times, and Caddo has usually the highest number of by-mail voters because we have so many military voters. And so we will be processing as quick as we can. And people are wondering, well, where are my ballots? I requested it 45 days ago. Well, I don't get the ballots till about 17 days before the election.
So here's the bottom line, as you heard Ernie say, once you get your ballot, don't delay. Just go ahead, fill it out, turn right back around and shoot it back to him, because that'll be that week to 10 days in order to make your vote count. And in fact, that is what this segment's called, making your vote count, online registration, and also ballots by mail. And Ernie, it's been an education today.
For a lot of folks, they don't realize that that really is the one thing that is completely labor intensive, kind of like making hamburgers. Everybody's hamburgers are a little bit different sometimes, and some people get some ballots and some people don't get other ballots, and you may be in the city or out of the city, or maybe you're this party or that party, so it's very involved. Caddo does more ballots by mail usually than anybody else in the state, and we pride ourselves. In fact, in the presidential election, Tom, for the first time since I've been here, every ballot that we had a request for when we ended early voting 1 week before the election, we actually got out by that night. And of course, we're getting them every day, 100 to 150 requests a day. But every ballot had been processed. Every ballot was mailed, because I took them to mail them that night.
He is the man, a 20-year veteran, the Caddo Registrar of Voters, Ernie Robertson. Tom Pace with you from the Talk of the Town, making your vote count. And remember to be watching for another video coming up soon, the top 10 questions asked and the answers.
That's right. We'll have it ready for you.
Have a good day, and remember, make your vote count. I'm Tom Pace. Thank you very much.